Hey, everybody, I'm JC Pohl with Teen Truth. Very honored to be here with you today. We want to have a really deep conversation about mental health today. We know that so many students and staff members and just other people connected with Teen Truth are struggling right now and dealing with challenges during COVID. And so I have a special guest here today to visit with us, Vincent A. Lanci. Say hello, Vincent. Good to have you here.
Hello, everyone. JC, it's great to see you again. I'm honored to be doing this with you. I think we're going to have a great conversation today.
Definitely, definitely. I've had the honor to work with Vincent a few times, and in about the last year or so, last few months, he hosts some great podcasts on mental health, as well as a podcast for entrepreneurs as well. So have really enjoyed kind of being a part of that work with him, and just in getting to know him and learning his story, I thought it was something that could help us, right? You and me, we work with students, we work on schools, and I think Vincent's story and some of the things he has to offer around mental health is really applicable, not only just to students, but especially students today in 2021 with everything they're dealing with and with everything going on. And so we just want to put this video together with you, for you. We're hoping it's about 10 or 15 minutes long, so stay with us and hopefully learn a little bit more about mental health and how we can support students today. And so Vincent, I guess the first question I had for you as we start this video is just, would love for you to introduce yourself to our audience and just tell us a little bit about your story, like what happened to you and why you're so passionate to work with students and have this conversation today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm from New York originally, baseball, wrestling, cross country growing up. I was never too fond of the cold weather, except I looked at it as a chance to make some money in the winter, go out there, grind, and that was about all that was to look forward to in the cold. I eventually traded in that snowflake season for palm trees full time, moved down to Florida, went to the University of Tampa, studying finance, and that's where I'll start my story, JC. A few days before what should have been my last semester as an undergraduate, I was walking home one evening and I was the victim of a hit and run accident while on foot. I woke up about a week later out of a coma, and after there was initial doubts that night if I would make it, once I did survive, the speculation switched to, will I ever walk again on my own, talk again my own, really do all of these things? And to be so close to a finance degree, 2 classes away, to be in the hospital for something I didn't do because of someone I've never met, it was very confusing. I had a traumatic brain injury where I'll get into in a second, and a broken fib where my bone was out of my leg, and I now have a rod in there for the rest of my life. But as you said, mental health, the traumatic brain injury was the scariest of all. When I woke up from a coma, the nurses and doctors said, "Hey, Vin, what school do you go to?" I said, Pulaski Road Elementary School. My phone's on silent, so I can't do my computer. Sorry. So my nurses and doctors woke me up. They said, "Vin, what school do you go to?" I said, Pulaski Elementary School. I was a 21-year-old man, JC, studying for my
Yeah.
finance degree, and I thought I was a 5-year-old student. So that's really what the signal was for me to take my mental health a little more serious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Vincent, thanks for sharing that story with us. It must have just been so hard. And just all of us, I'm sure, just, our heart goes out to you and just to have such a big event happen, just like you said, out of nowhere, and you didn't do anything to deserve it. Like you didn't bring it on yourself, and it just really sideswiped you. And I think that so many people in life have things that sideswipe them. COVID right now has sideswiped a lot of us, right? Especially our students, like our seniors and eighth graders that were kind of looking forward to their graduation year. Similar to like what you were looking forward to at the University of Tampa. And so when you reflect back on like that season of your life, those 2 or 3 years, like really in recovery coming out of the accident, like how did it affect you mentally? Like what were some of the real struggles that you had just pulling yourself out of bed every day?
Yeah, well, I'll take you back to 2013. I was a senior in college and Instagram had really just been getting popular. So I'm in here my senior year of college, back in my bed, at home rehabbing, looking at all my friends having the best time. And obviously I'm super happy for them because it's senior year, but I want to be making those memories with them. So I had to start over. I mentioned I was at a 5-year-old's brain level. When I woke up, I had to ride an arm bicycle in the morning to rebuild my basic motor skills. That's how far back I was taken. Estimated entered the classroom again was a year and a half, a year at least, 2 years. I went back that same summer because when I was in New York, I was just focused. I said, okay, this is what happened. Once I accepted it, that's when things changed. I was out of denial. This is what it is. It happened. I either sit and sulk, cry, why me? Why me? It's senior year. It's, it could be over, or I turn something horrible into a good day because, as you mentioned, people's hearts go out for this type of situation, but it's not what happened to me. It's happened to my family. They were up in New York and they got a call from a police officer at 3 a.m. saying, hey, we can't say much on the phone, but if this is your son, you need to get to Tampa immediately. He may not make it through the night.
Yeah.
So that was my fuel, motivation.
Yeah. Can you reflect though on like some of the hard feelings that you might have had at the time, like when you really were in the storm? I mean, I know that persistence and working through it was so important, but like what were some of the core feelings that you had at the time though?
Well, anxiety was something that hit me right away. I was always a go-getter, always on edge, always very goal-oriented, seeking the best of myself. So I was always on edge. But after the accident, with the trauma experience, my anxiety really rose to new levels. And I find that with connecting with a lot of trauma patients, that anxiety is prevalent. But ways to offset that, I learned, okay, exercise was always a part of my life, but now I'm using it for a different reason. Writing became a huge tool for me. And now fast forward, there's 3 books and a few podcasts where I'm constantly writing, constantly using my brain. And I love it because I'll always think about those times it happened. It's going to be there, but it's important for me to recognize that, hey, there is some anxiety there and not run away from it, but instead of running, really work with it so I can succeed.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a few coping skills there, right? Like exercise, writing, some of those elements I think are so important for so many of us that struggle. A lot of the clients I work with in therapy, it really is coaching them to find the coping skills that will work for them as they kind of tap that anxiety down. I find the clients I work with that don't have those skills built up, like they really struggle kind of tapping it down. It starts running wild a little bit on them. And so when you think about like using those specific skills, like the exercise or the writing, like what did that do for the anxiety levels for you? Like how did that impact your mental health when it came to dealing with anxiety?
I guess they put me in more of a relaxed state, more of a calm place where I wasn't so focused on all of the negative. It was kind of an outlet, I guess you can say. And then I guess it evolved into really just having systems with it, and they were included. That really helps my anxiety a lot when I'm prepared, I'm organized, and I don't stress. I'm not scrambling. Everything I do, I just try to give myself that extra time, allocate a few extra minutes for it so I'm prepared and I don't get all worked up and damage myself. Like for today, I've been so excited about this. We spoke about some things we're going to discuss, and I'm just happy to join you.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think you hit on something really interesting there. It's like that a lot of us, I think, take for granted, where in your situation, you probably couldn't. If you were going to work your way out of this, you had to be very focused. You had to be scheduled. You had to be persistent, right? I think you said you started like at a 5-year-old and you're trying to get up to speed. I think you said in about a year and a half, right? So it's like you kind of knew the milestones that you had to hit. And you had to be very scheduled, almost like like a professional athlete or an Olympian would have to be, right? Like with their training and everything they're doing to kind of reach the level that they want to reach. And so like, how did it feel like now, flash forward the 2, 3, 4 years, like when you've gotten through the majority of your recovery, like how did that feel to kind of come out on the other side of things?
Well, it felt amazing because I quickly learned, and it really pays major dividends at this point in my life, that when people give you expectations, they're just that, what people expect. If you're a hard worker and you really want to shatter a goal, you will do that. I mentioned it took a year and a half, 2 years they thought it would take me. I was back in summer classes that very May, and I got hit in January. I was
Wow.
at a graduate, and I didn't go back unless I could because in graduate school, if you get your third C, you're dropped from the program. There was no special treatment for a traumatic brain injury patient. It was, I'm an adult, I'm there. And I went back and I ended up getting 2 A's and a B that summer. I couldn't believe it. I ended
That's
up getting
awesome.
better grades my entire graduate school with a impaired brain than undergraduate without. And then it led me to speak at graduation. So
Oh,
just
wow.
the way you asked that question, I really appreciate
Yeah.
it because that's a lesson for everybody out there where just find what works. There's always some light in the day. You mentioned to find what a coping mechanism works best for your patients. There's something out there that can really work for you and really take you to the next level. So I encourage you to keep an open mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just going through that, it sounds like it changed your perspective, changed your work ethic. It really, even though it was obviously a horrible experience, sounds like it really opened up a lot of great things inside of you and inside of your life and in the path that you're walking today. And I think that's where I'd like to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about students today, because Vincent, our students are hurting right now. We know that the mental health rates are going through the roof. The rates that students are failing classes and becoming disengaged, especially in states where they've had to stay in remote learning all year. These students are really struggling, and even more so as we look at our seniors or our eighth graders who are kind of in that graduation year. That we're looking forward to something that is literally just like it happened to you, being ripped away from them. And so what is some of the, like, based on the conversation we've had about you, what is some of the advice that you would give to those students that have been sideswiped, just like you got sideswiped, right? Things have been turned upside down. And so what are kind of the keys to mental health, or the advice that you would offer to students if you could draw it up for them?
Yes, thank you for asking this question. I want you to understand, students listening out there, that the situation happened. There is nothing we can do about it. In life, you can't blame the external factors because everybody's dealing with those. You just have to find something that works for you. You mentioned going to grad school. There might have been some good things to come out of this. My whole life, I thought I was someone who wanted my finance degree, get the corner office and that title and that money. And I got it. I do love the art of finance, but when I got it, it just wasn't what I was expecting. I learned firsthand that money isn't necessarily everything. It was that corporate environment for which one last time I didn't want to deal with. There was more in me to do more. After speaking at graduation, I saw the impact my story had on more than just me. So to answer the question, find your passion. It circled back to, okay, I liked finance, but I was in it more for the money than for liking it. With this job, we're going on 7 years of doing this. And I can be honest with you, revenue has not been consistent all 7 years. Spotty each year. Now, for the first time with my mental health book, Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, that's the cover. I finally think I have something where I'm not selling something. I finally put so much heart and soul and effort into a project over this pandemic to provide value, to help people who are in a situation like me, for example, who need to just hear someone else's story, hear what someone else has to say, because storytelling is extremely powerful. And with mental health, I found what I liked. I found speaking made me happy. Entrepreneurship is tough, but you challenge yourself every day. You have new goals every day. As you can attest to, there's always work to be done. And I'm motivated to get out of bed every day. I'm hungry. I'm excited. And mental health is a long journey, but if I could play a small role and JC could play a role in all of you listening on, we're very happy to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Vincent. And we talk a lot with students, and have for many years, about just the importance of finding our voice. And a lot of times when we visit school, we're talking about finding our voice on campus. So that's about getting involved in school, or being part of a team or a club, or, just kind of finding your tribe and your people on campus. And we find that when students can do that, not only does it help the school culture, but it helps the student, right? It helps them get that support and relationships around them to deal with whatever mental health or stress or anxiety they might be struggling with. But I love what you kind of took that to the next level. And it's like, when things do impact our lives and we go through difficult situations, something can come out of it where we find kind of a different purpose and a different drive. And I think your story really illustrates, like, the opportunity that's out there when you do get sideswiped. And it's funny, even just listening to you talk, I was thinking about just Teen Truth in general. And it's really hard to believe, but like, Teen Truth probably would not exist if I didn't get laid off from Disney the first time I was working at Disney. And it's kind of, it was many years ago, but when you look back, it's like the dominoes might not have fallen the same way if I didn't get laid. I mean, Disney was like my dream job, where I wanted to work. And I know a lot of you listening have kind of heard that story before. And losing my job was very traumatic and hard, but something like Teen Truth blossomed out of it. And so we're just kind of wondering, when we look at COVID and everything that you're struggling with, or that your students are struggling with right now, We're wondering what kind of greatness or opportunity might come out of it for them, what kind of adjustment they could make, what kind of new target they could set, and most importantly, like Vincent said, what kind of new purpose they might be able to find in our life or in their life. And so with that, I think we're going to let you go. Vincent, I know we've got an audience here. Did you just want to mention to people like how they could get in touch with you or about your podcast or however they can like find out a little bit more about you and who you are?
I appreciate the opportunity to do so. And JC, thank you for having me on today and collaborating with you. As you know, I get great joy out of all the podcasts we've done together. For everybody listening on, you can go to vincentalanci.com and check out all those podcasts with JC. My handle is at Vincent A. Lanci, and you can find my podcast handles under there. YouTube's Vincent A. Lanci all around. And thank you all for tuning in. And JC, thank you again.
Yeah, there you go. Just Google Vincent A. Lanci and something good will come up. All right. So it was an honor to be here with you all today. You can find us at teentruth.net or, of course, out on social media. You take care. You have a great day.